I could have killed them all. I could have killed you. I'm telling you the law. Out here, it's me. Don't push it. Don't push it. I'll give you a war you won't believe.
Hello, welcome to the Movie Buff Podcast, Episode 8. My name is Mark from the Movie Buff, and joining me is Matt, content creator and film critic for the site as well. What?
Hey, Mark.
Hey, man. How's it going?
It's going good.
Yeah.
I'm bored in my house, and looking forward to talking about some movies because I got nothing else going on. So
I know. Well, tell us about the quarantine. How's it hitting you?
It's getting pretty boring. Especially with the weather starting to get nice. I'm kind of, I don't know, I'm over it. So I'm hoping that the reopen will work, and we'll have to take it from there and see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, it's been with the weather being wintry, it's been really depressing. I'm glad today was actually 70 degrees and normal temperature for May.
Normal up until the tornado or whatever that hit about an hour ago.
It was a tempest, monsoon.
Rain coming in sideways, and it was pretty bad.
I know. I got scared for a minute, but then I remembered the podcast, and it made me feel safe.
Well, I mean, there you go.
Okay. Anyway, so we'll break into it, and this month at the Movie Buff has been Man Movie May. Matt, I don't know if you remember how many years we've been doing this for. I can't remember.
I want to say it's the 5th because I think we started in 2015.
Wow. Okay. We didn't do it as long as we've been doing the Halloween though.
Yeah, no, this was something we came up with when we were in your apartment in Albany, Danker Village, and looking for something to do. We had Mom Movie March, and then ended up doing Man Movie May.
Correct. Okay. Well, anyways, we've devoted the entire month to talking about action heroes and action movies and, high energy man movies. Although this month we have a couple of tough female kick-ass films as well. I got to post Kill Bill this weekend.
I've never seen Kill Bill.
Oh, wow. They're good. If you like a lot of violence, and the second one's more introspective than the first one is.
Interesting.
Yeah, but for this podcast, we're going to just narrow it down to an old-fashioned action classic and talk about First Blood, starring Sylvester Stallone. Now, Matt,
the original Rambo movie.
You could argue the only Rambo movie.
The only one I've seen to date.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely different in terms of what he became, This is a very strange movie, but so anyways, I wrote down that it was released in 1982, and obviously stars Stallone, who I believe helped on this script, Brian Dennehy, Richard Crenna, Bill McKinney. I spotted David Caruso in the cast. What's that?
He is absolutely in it. He's about 20 years old.
Yeah,
stands out like a sore thumb. But.
With that red-haired ginger, just like me. And anyways, the film is about a veteran Green Beret named John Rambo, played by Stallone, who makes his way through a small town, harassed by the local police, led by Dennehy's Teasel, I believe his name is, right?
Will Teasel.
Will Teasel. It's being pushed around. Rambo lashes out, goes on the run, and it escalates into an all-out war. I believe the National Guard is eventually nodded to come in and help. And the movie obviously explores war stress and trauma and the Vietnam War culture. But you wrote the review for this, Matt. Why don't you want to start off and tell us what you thought about, or whatever you wanted to talk about First Blood?
Yeah, I mean, I love this movie. It's on the edge of being in my top 50.
Wow.
I remember watching it when I was a kid, just seeing it on TV one day, and I loved Brian Dennehy's performance, and I think that was the first thing that really spoke to me when I saw it, just how good of an actor he was in that role. And as I kind of got older and watched it more and more, what I really like about it is that it's a Rambo movie, but if you were to picture Rambo, you think of Sylvester Stallone with the bow and arrow, or he's got the big knife, and this is just so different because it's an actual, a film. It's not just mindless violence. And, there's a lot of ridiculous action and stuff, but only one person dies in the entire movie. And it's not even Rambo's fault. And, it's just probably not what you would think of when you think of this. You think, oh, it's a high body count, or it's just a bunch of, people blowing up or whatever. And it's just a really good movie, and it's short. I mean, it's an hour, 33 minutes. So it goes really fast from start to finish. And just, I don't know, it's really good. I love the setting of it's set in the fictitious Hope, Washington.
Which is obviously symbolic,
Yeah. Well, and it was actually filmed in a town called Hope, British Columbia. So it's a little bit further north where they were filming, but I just love the Pacific Northwest. That feeling. I mean, it's so good. The Christmas decorations. It's a Christmas movie, I think. It's right up there with Die Hard.
Yes. I mean, it's interesting that you're bringing that up, like what Rambo would become. Like, you were talking about this, and I just had to look it up quick. In the, let's see, just so I don't talk out of school, the Rambo film, it came out in 2008. The body count is 236.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's what people think of when they think of Rambo, but this movie is just so much different than that. All of the Vietnam scenes are just flashbacks. Yeah. It's not actually, him there. I mean, and I don't know, I just think it's really cool. And it's so close to the end of Vietnam that I'm sure people back then, it would have had a different take on that. For us, it's like, yeah, we sort of know how bad Vietnam was, but we didn't actually live through it. This was in 1982. It was only 7 years after the war ended, so it would have been a lot more impactful. Yeah, and
I think you brought that up in your review, that the kind of like mistreatment that Rambo gets for that, it's so far removed from the support our troops post 9/11 culture that we have.
Exactly.
It's like he gets crapped on by the cops, even the woman that he goes to. Was it? I don't know. I can't figure out who that woman was. Was she friends with his ex? Company
at the beginning, yeah, she was the wife of his last surviving friend from his platoon.
Oh, it was actually supposed to be the wife. Okay.
Yeah, and so then he finds out right away that his friend died, and you can kind of tell that he was like hoping to, maybe stay with the friend or something. He's got all of his belongings in a bag, and he just kind of walks in and then finds out that his last friend is dead.
Yeah.
And then he just, he loses hope, pun intended, and he, just kind of wanders and ends up there. And, there's a great little, like a subtle scene, which I didn't even notice at first.
Okay.
But when I watched it again with the commentary, and Sylvester Stallone pointed it out, when he turns around to leave, he actually has like his address book in his hand, and he just kind of casually tosses it in the fire. And it's like at that moment, it's like he has nothing.
What fire? Where was a fire?
What's that, man? You blinked out.
Where was a fire? I didn't catch that scene.
Yeah, I didn't notice it at first. It's at the very beginning, right after he leaves from talking to her. There's, they have like a fire pit in their backyard, and he just walks by and tosses the note in, the address in.
Wow.
And it's like, he has nothing at this point, and it's really powerful, and it's sad, and just, I don't know, it's great.
No, it is, and I think it's more. It's like this. You watch this movie, and my first reaction was like, I don't know what to think about it, because it's not really an action movie at all. That the action isn't highlighted as like the selling point of the film. It's kind of like this weird indie thing that just wanders into like strange territory. Stallone's clearly not, I hope this isn't like an affront, but not as good of an actor as Dennehy.
But it's good because he doesn't have a lot of dialogue in it. And, and I think he plays it well. Just kind of being, the sort of tough guy who's sort of, I think, he speaks through his eyes, his expression. And then that scene at the end when he's doing that dialogue, like the very end of the movie, that was pretty amazing, I thought.
I loved the first part of that dialogue where he's yelling at Troutman about sending him to the war, and the people at the airport harassing him, and who are they to protest me, and that whole thing. When he started like slinking on the ground and like kind of like muttering about, I don't know, it's hard to hear. And like the friend he lost or whatever, and got blown up in the war, and he starts crying right before he gives himself up. I thought it went on a little bit too long. I don't know how you felt about that.
That part I love it. I mean, I think that's the part that makes him actually be really good, in the role, is that he finally gets to actually do do something where he's talking a little bit, and I think he sells it well.
Yeah, I mean, I know some people like said that like the movie was already told through visuals and that wasn't necessary. I thought the scene was really good. Honestly, the one critique I had was like in the beginning when Teasel drives him to the bridge or whatever, and like he just turns around and comes back. It's like at that part of the movie, it actually seemed like smart-assy, but like only by watching the whole film do you understand that he's just had enough abuse from everybody and he's just not going to take it anymore. You know, I wonder if that could have been built up a little bit more before that scene. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think it kind of goes hand in hand with like what we were talking about with the friend's wife, you know, because at this point he has nothing left, and then it's almost as if he's, you know, kind of like he's looking for a fight. You know, I mean, he has every right to be walking down the street without being escorted out of the town like that, you know, but he also kind of knows, I think, that how to push the buttons of those cops.
Yeah.
And, you know, he sort of does it, and
it's hard because I wrote that down, and it's like it's probably kind of a stupid question, but I'm like trying to like just like figure out what Teasel's like motivation is for the way he acts towards Rambo.
Yeah, like, so another thing I learned from the commentary, which is like something that I think they could have maybe shown better because I missed it watching the movie, but Teasel is a Korean War veteran, and I know from, like, my father was in the Korean War, and like they have like a rivalry with the Vietnam War people because everyone talks about the Vietnam War. You know, nobody ever talks about the Korean War, and it's
wow, okay,
like, you know, the protesting from the 60s, you know, which is, everyone knows, you know, how the counterculture was developed around the Vietnam War, and the people in the Korean War, it was almost like that generation of people, you know, that's just a few years after World War II, and it's like, you know, these people just gave up what they had to, went to war because that's what the duty called for, and they came back and didn't want all the fanfare that got, you know, the Vietnam War vets didn't want that either, but they got it. So I think that's a big part of it. And I know there's a part where Teasel's at his desk, and like if you look behind him, it shows like a medal, but they really don't emphasize that enough.
It's not,
you know,
it's not emphasized at all. There's not like a camera shot lingering on like anything.
And I really think that would have been a lot better because he does come across as like he's just a jerk, and it doesn't, you know, it kind of doesn't make any sense. But in reality, it's, you know, he's from a different generation, and, you know, he sees Rambo in the way he looks at the beginning, and, you know, he's just kind of, he's speaking for himself. He's not speaking for the whole town when he's, you know, we don't want you here, but it's kind of, I think the generational thing, and then the divide between the two wars is something it's played out in the novel, but not really shown in the movie. So
that's interesting because he doesn't, because like especially when he's talking to Troutman, he doesn't come off as military to me. You know, he acts like he's not one of them.
Teasel, you mean?
Yeah, when he really is. You know, that's
right. He comes across like he's just. I mean, at first, I think he was just kind of a jerk, and then as it escalates further and further, you know, his friend is the guy that falls out of the helicopter and dies. You know, and he says like, we've been friends for 20 years. You could probably assume that maybe they served together or something in the war, and, you know, so he's really close, and then it just keeps escalating, and neither one of them want to back down and admit that that they could have resolved it a lot better, but it just escalates into, you know, explosions and mayhem.
I mean, that scene when, like, after Troutman arrives, where Teasel's going on this rant about how if there's a problem, if somebody in his prison maltreats a prisoner, then the prisoner comes to me and I fix the situation. And I'm like, that's not at all how you would act. And you actually instigated this from, you know, the
word. That's kind of a load of crap because, we see him starting it, you know, right from the beginning. Yeah. You know, hey, where you going? Well, I'm looking for something to eat, and well, hop in, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I honestly, I think that was my favorite line in the whole movie when Troutman's having a beer in the bar after he assumes Rambo's dead. And then he says, or Teasel admits that he's like, I wanted to kill Rambo. I wanted to kill him so bad I could taste it. And then Troutman goes, yeah, it doesn't really sit well with that badge, does it? I'm like, that's really introspective and interesting.
Yeah, it's almost like in the book, Teasel would have been a deeper character with more reasoning, and in the movie, they just kind of turn him into a bad guy, you know, to make it more simple. I mean, and I think it works, but I love that scene too when the guy has that straight edge razor and Rambo just like flashes back to the Vietnam thing, and it's like, oh man, it's so like, you put that razor down, man, you're gonna get hurt.
Yeah, I mean that part was great, and I'm laughing now, but I love afterwards where they ran the guy's or Rambo's information and found out he was a Green Beret war hero, and then Crusoe's like, I knew there was something about that guy, man. It's such bad writing that I can't.
Caruso, I loved the names of those small town cops. It was Orville, Mitch, like Buford, all of these really ridiculous names.
Orville, Mitch, yeah, you think he mentioned that in the review? And I was like, I think that was also like, and I can't figure that one part out, like when the National Guard shoots the missile at the mine. And Troutman is just looking at the mine, and he gives like a knowing glance. At the time, I thought he was like paying his last respects to Rambo because he thought he was dead. But then you realize he probably knew he wasn't dead.
Yeah, of course.
You know, but that part is so great when he's like, John Rambo, decorated war hero, wins the Congressional Medal of Honor, survives multiple incursions behind enemy lines, killed for vagrancy in Jerkwater, USA.
Yeah, that's great.
Jerkwater. It's a perfect small town name.
When I feel like at about that point, when Troutman shows up is when it sort of becomes more of a Rambo movie, because then there's a lot of, explosions and ridiculous weaponry and stuff, and that awesome, like, shootout at the end. Yeah, the
M60. Although, like, it's kind of fuzzy to me what he was doing shooting up the town. At that point, like,
yeah, I think that's just the post-traumatic stress thing. I think it was just at that point he snapped.
Yeah, I mean, but here's maybe you're right, because I was trying to analyze it like realistically, and like, so he's smart enough to know that they shot a rocket launcher at him, and they probably think he's dead. And he gets out of the brush, and he could have just walked out of town and left, and he like jumps into that barracks truck and then throws the guy out and lets him live. I'm like, why would you do that?
Well, that's kind of the cool thing. Like when he's doing the booby traps on all of Teasel's men at the beginning, like he could have killed any of them at any time, and he doesn't because he's not actually a murderer at this point. I know eventually he's probably going to become one in Part 2, Part 3, Part 4, but...
Well, I mean, in those movies, they're standard action films. I mean, he goes to, like, I wouldn't call him a murderer. He goes to enemy lines and rescues prisoners of war and kills aggressors. It's not like he's murdering innocent people.
Oh, I can't wait to watch those.
Oh, I mean, I haven't seen them in so long. We have a review of First Blood Part 2 posting soon. But... the first 2 and 3 are very similar, and then 4 I think didn't take place till 2006, and that's the one in Burma where I read hit the 200. I mean, so there's 500 from Wiki or fandom, Rambo.fandom.com. There's 500.
It keeps track of the death count.
Yeah, 552 deaths from Rambo's hand. 236 of them take place in just one movie. So. I don't know how to. Yeah, I mean, he clearly became that. Just they saw Rambo, First Blood, and they're like, "Ooh, franchise. Let's just make him this."
Yeah, because Rambo dies at the end of the book, and so obviously they didn't do that because they had an idea.
Who kills him? Is it?
I want to say that Troutman might shoot him. I'm not sure.
That would make sense if he just put him out of his misery because he couldn't contain him anymore.
I should read the book.
Yeah, that would be very interesting. I mean, that's how it should end, honestly.
But then that would have been, then there wouldn't have been the 253 website count of how many people he's killed.
Yeah, I just looked it up. Let's see. I don't know. I gotta read more into it, but it looks like he gets in a skirmish with Troutman and Teasel. And Teasel manages to shoot Rambo in the chest. So Teasel does it.
Wow.
Wow. I gotta read this book. You haven't read it?
No.
Oh,
but I'd like to now.
I need to order it. David Morrell. I don't know how much it is on Amazon. Probably not much.
Yeah, I'm thinking that's probably a 99-cent used one you could find.
I'll look on Apple Books and see if it's available. Yeah, I mean, it's just honestly, it's just a good movie. I felt like you thought it was flowed easily. I thought it was a little bit too long.
Too long? Oh my god!
I love the score, but at the end when he starts singing the vocals to it, I'm like, what are you doing? It's such a cheesy song.
Actually, I didn't pay attention to any of the score in it. I don't think that I could tell you any of the songs or any of the music.
There's no songs. It's just I don't know who did it actually. I have to look it up, but it's an instrumental score. They play the same thing at certain points of the film, and then at the end, there's like a song that is the same thing but with vocals. It's very subtle. Here it is. Jerry Goldsmith. Yeah. It's very. You should listen to it. You should download it.
I'll check that out.
Anyways, so that's First Blood. I mean, do you have anything else you want to add, buddy?
I mean, just think of how cool it is that Sylvester Stallone is two of the most iconic man movie characters of all time.
Yeah.
He's Rocky and Rambo. I don't think any other actor has more than one. It's like Schwarzenegger's the Terminator, but that's really all he's got.
No other franchise. I mean, Stallone's
responsible. Die Hard, and that's it. But Stallone's got two, and they're so iconic.
Yeah, I mean, Stallone wrote Rocky, co-wrote Rambo. It was responsible for reviving the action genre with The Expendables. He's just like a way more talented than he's given credit for.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Rambo. I haven't seen the last Rambo that just came out last year. I thought I'll have to do that soon and see if it's any good.
I think he's now in his 70s. It probably can't be that good. But
yeah, I know. No one wants to see a 70-year-old guy shooting up people. It's just ridiculous at this point. But yeah, I mean, this movie the first one has that element of just like a tortured guy, And I was remarked, this is just a ridiculous thing to say, but when he took his shirt off, and I'm like, he's skinny.
Yeah, he's not. He's fit, but he's not The Rock or anything. He's just kind of like a fit-looking guy.
Yeah, I mean, now still, I'm not now, but with The Expendables, I mean, he's ridiculously huge and thick. He was like a skinny guy back then. I'm like,
yeah,
Anyway, so that's First Blood. And do you have anything else you want to add?
No, not really. I think we covered it. I think it's a really, really good movie, and it can be enjoyed as a man movie, or it can be enjoyed just as a film. I think it's got the power to do both things.
I agree. It's a high recommend from both Matt and Mark from the Movie Buff. We're not Roger Ebert and Richard Roper, but we could give it, or Siskel, 2 thumbs up. If you want.
What did Roger Ebert say about it?
Oh, I don't. I mean, I'd have to look. I'm just saying they had that 2 thumbs up show. I was just being silly. Ebert, First Blood. I think he just didn't like the dialogue at the end. He gave it 3 out of 4 stars.
Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't. But anyways, he's a how those critic types are.
Oh, I'm aware.
We try to be different. But I will just add that thanks again for joining us, and you can find us online at TheMovieBuff.net. Our podcast is on iTunes and SoundCloud, also on Facebook and Twitter, and we will hope to see you guys soon.